It's the 7th of June 2023 today, and we're travelling from Roy's Rest Camp to Waterberg Guest Farm. It's a 350 kilometre haul to our last destination today. We're heading off to the Waterberg Guest Farm for 2 nights. This is our last stop, then back to Windhoek and the trip is over. A big hope here is to see a rhino. It's one of the notable animals in Waterberg National Park. On the way we'll detour to the Hoba Meteorite, since I've been wanting to see that for ages. The first part of the trip is down sealed road, so nothing much to show. We get a bit lost in Grootfontein trying to find the road to the meteorite, so we wind up taking a detour. This is a bit more scenic as the meteor itself sits in flat farmland. Eventually we get there. Now I keep saying meteorite and not meteorite crater, as there is no crater. The meteor originally sat just underground on a flat plain and was discovered by a farmer who clobbered it with his plough. It's thought that either 1. It came down at a low angle and skipped to this location. The shallow impacts have eroded away. 2. At the time when it came down, considered to be less than 80,000 years ago, there may have been glaciation in the area and it landed on the ice, which melted, depositing it where it lies today. There's no dashcam or security footage from 80,000 years ago, so nobody knows for sure, but no alien pranksters have owned up so far. It's a pretty impressive lump, the meteorite I mean. It's not rock but an almost pure nickel-iron mix and weighs in at about 60 tonnes. You can see the metallic sheen where people have touched it over the years. People have also been touching it with angle grinders and oxy torches. So now you can only see it if you pay a few dollars for an accredited guide. Will not only give you a good description of it, but keep an eye on you in case you whip out any power tools. It's also some local employment and upkeep of the small facility, so we paid up cheerfully. If you don't like it, you can always lodge a complaint. You can see here the bit that somebody tried to liberate with an oxy torch. Makes for a good demo of the metallic nature of the meteorite. That's how pure the iron is.
Yes.
Then it's off to Waterberg. We do a detour to drop something delicate off in Combat, that's a town, for one of the staff of the Meteorite Centre. Then it's back roads again. And wouldn't you know, more gates. Not as bad as yesterday, though. We spotted a couple of these birds on the way. Don't know what it is, but the blue was gloriously metallic. We stopped and I tried to get a good picture for about 30 minutes, but I'm not up to it photography-wise. A bit further along we see a secretary bird. This is a major bonus. It was on my personal list. It's like an eagle on stilts and specialises in hunting snakes. It's quite a way off the road and this is the best picture I could manage. Here's a better picture by Sumit Murhay. Eventually the Waterberg comes into view. The road is well travelled and pretty rough. There's an upmarket lodge here perched up on the ridge. All the accommodation in this area was pretty expensive and it was hard to find somewhere with a vacancy. After about 5 hours on the road, we get to Waterberg Guest Farm. This is quite nice accommodation on the slopes of another small plateau across from the Waterberg. I found that in the hunting season a lot of hunters stay here as they are hunting reserves in the area. Glad we were not there at that time. I don't like hunting. We park up the car and unpack. We are in one of the top cabins higher up the ridge. The view is nice and you can't see any of the other cabins, which is good because there's no curtains. The interior is nice and there's even an outdoor bath and shower. Here are the prices for the Honesty Bar in the cabin. For conversion, $10 Namibian is about 85 cents Australian, so a Savannah Dry would set you back about $2.55 Australian. What's not to like? I take a shower, not realising that certain people can't resist the social media urges. The sun departs and we stroll down the hill for dinner. It's only about 10 minutes to the restaurant. The table is all laid out and they have a fire going. It's cool, but a fire? Oh well, we're not local, so it's probably cold for them. There's this creepy old guy lurking around, but he disappears when the other guests turn up. It's quite funny because we hear them speaking Afrikaans as they enter, and as soon as they hear us speaking English, they swap to English as well, so we're not left out of the conversation. It makes me feel uncivilised speaking only one language. The next morning we start rearranging all the cases, ready to hand the car back the following day. We have a game drive booked in the afternoon and have a few hours to kill before then. Mid-afternoon we jump in the car and head back to the national park. It's about 25 kilometres over the chopped up road to the office where we have to check in.
You've taken photos of me today.
Why shouldn't I take photos of you?
But you already have.
Yeah, can never get enough.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay, so last game drive of the trip in Waterberg Plateau Park. So let's see if we can see anything new. While we're waiting, Angela has a close encounter with a lion. It's seen better days and I don't think she's in much danger actually. After check-in we wander up to the cafe for coffee and cake. This hard safari life. There's a baboon wandering around. It's bigger close up than I imagined. They're evidently a problem, so we mention it at the cafe. So we sip coffee and wait, all the hard stuff, before heading back down the hill and boarding our conveyance. Here's our safari bus for the day. Not the usual Land Cruiser Troopy, but an Isuzu four-wheel drive truck. I called it the Maxi Mux. We had to drive another 20 kilometres or so in the bus over the main road to the spot where we can get up onto the top of the plateau. It's rough and I can't hold the camera still, so no footage. The climb up is a concrete road to stop it washing away, but the roads in the park area are sand, often quite deep, soft sand.
the animals there, we calling clip springer. Clip springer. But animals there, yeah. Jumping on the rocks.
Okay.
Just not, I stay just on the rocks. Jump, jump, jump. So we call him clip springer.
We stop to admire the view. Camera 2 stays put to get this shot. This is the road we came up. The steep bit is to the left. It's closed at night and the gate is guarded. This is the view back towards the south. After driving around for a while and spotting not much, we go to one of the hides. The guide says that every few days they see a rhino, but only when they're crossing the road. If they're in the scrub off the side of the road, he says you have to be really lucky to see one. The entrances to the hides are these long tunnels, so the animals at the waterhole don't see people going into the hide. I'd also say it's protection, as the safari wagon can pull right up to the entrance to the tunnel. You don't have an exposed walk to the hide from the vehicle. This is one reason why. African buffalo. They're notoriously grumpy. Some of these have ear tags but shouldn't be mistaken for local farm moo cows. We trundle around to a few hides. There are a lot of buffalo but not much else. The shadows are getting long and we maybe have 2 hours of daylight left. At the next waterhole we see a thing that looks a bit like an oryx, but it isn't. It's similar but smaller and with shorter horns. The guide tells us what it is, but I've forgotten. Then the guide tells us to shush, no photos. I cheat and turn the fake shutter sound off on the camera and keep shooting silently. Take that, proper cameras. What the heck is he talking about? The light is seriously starting to fade, and at the edge of the clearing is a female rhino with a calf. She's so nervous. She wants to drink, but she's not happy about something. There are a few buffalo at the water, but I don't think it's them she's worried about. She hesitates and hesitates. and then she leaves. I hope it wasn't us that spooked her, but it probably was. I hope she comes back after dark to drink, but Angela has now seen a rhino in the wild too. We bump back to the park HQ in the twilight, jump in the Lo Luxe and bump back to the Waterberg farm in the dark. There are a couple of cars heading there as well, so we hang back out of their dust. When we get back, we're late for dinner, but no problem. They just cook up for us and we gossip like kids over the rhino we saw. And that's it. The trip is essentially over. Tomorrow we head back to Windhoek, drop the car off and become normal people again. We have the afternoon to get ready to fly home and then off to the airport the following morning. It's been great. And we got to see a rhino.